Good afternoon everyone, my name is Ria Angelia. I'm a moderator for Group 6. Today we will explain about Chapter 7, namely when we assess, how can we use assessment to move forward. There are 6 members who will present the material. Alright, let's get started.
Thank you, moderator, for the opportunity. Here I would like to explain about using assessment to move forward. For assessment to be effective and to enhance, not harm students, learning students must compete with themselves to continue to improve, and teachers should use assessment events to help students to develop effective learning strategies that will serve them beyond the classroom. The researchers emphasize that in order to ensure high-quality classroom assessment practices, that is, those practices that will support and enhance students' learning, we need to recognize assessment takes place during instruction and continuously. Knowledge and skills should not be assessed in isolation. Students should be informed about and involved in all assessment events, whether our purpose is assessment for, as, or of learning. When as teachers, we actively question, reflect on, and learn more about assessment, we increase its quality and positive impact. Then next, as teachers, we should use a combination of assessment for learning, assessment as learning, and assessment of learning. There are 4 fundamental aspects of classroom assessment activities to include events, tools, processes, and decisions. Number 1, assessment events, such as an oral presentation or a listening activity, can support students when the events occur with the right frequency so that the teacher knows whether instruction is successful, which areas need more instruction, and which student or group of students may need additional support. 2. Assessment tools can support student learning when the tools provide students with clear ideas about what is important to learn and the criteria of expectations for good work, and when assessment goals are aligned with learning outcomes and instructional goals. 3. Assessment processes can support students' views of their teachers as allies in their education. Feedback can help students to focus and better understand requirements of a task, and then feedback increases students' self-awareness and their ability to set meaningful and appropriate goals for their learning. Number 4, assessment decisions can support students' learning when grades accurately reflect what students know and can do. The next material will be delivered by the next presenter. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Rizal Alkamil. My student number is 2021-22-136. Grading. Grading is the process of summing up student achievement using a numerical or ordinal scale. It's a complex, evaluate practice that requires teachers to make judgment about student learning. Grades are used most notably to make public statements to students, parents, and other stakeholders about student achievement. Currently, the lack of research on grading practice provides unprecedented challenge for grade implementation and use across educational system. Research on grading. Research on grading has a long story in education. In the past, educators were primarily concerned with the reliability and standardization of teachers' grading practice. Recent research has further explored factors that influence and shape teachers' grades related to both achievement and non-achievement. One of the most difficult issues in grading is how to deal with non-achievement factors, such as effort, work habits, and motivation. Grades are acknowledged to have multiple meanings and multiple contexts, including social and legal contexts. From a socio-cultural perspective, the grading decision convey teachers' values, beliefs, and assumptions about teaching and learning, which are rooted in and shaped by the socio-cultural and historical context in which teacher works. A model of teachers' classroom grading decision-making, including both internal and external influencing factors. The most salient internal factor was the teacher's philosophy of teaching and learning. Teaching and learning values that contribute to grade decision for teachers, study, parents, and principal. Given the complexity and University on grading practice, research on grading needs to move beyond its traditional emphasis on reliability grading. Research must examine the validity of grading practice. Contemporary validity theories to examine the values and consequence of grades as generated and situated within and across learning contexts. Thank you.
Hello, good afternoon everyone. My name is Zildjian. Student number is 192122103. And then here I will tell you guys about what is grading scenario and the impact of large scale testing on the test preparation. Okay, so here we go. The first one. So grading scenario here, what is mean is an assessment where that begins starting from the initial scenario. For example, if student A task is given with a satisfactory result, but even though the results are satisfactory, it looks like that A does not really show his skills. On the contrary, his skills are quite above the average child in the class. So it looks like that this student A is not trying to look successful. However, good production can be a reasons why it is good. So in this condition, you can do the A. The A scenario is A's grade on the quality of work as a comparison in class without worrying about the amount of what he does. And then the B scenario is lowering the value of the A because the A is not serious about doing the task of himself. And the C scenario is keep giving the high marks so that A will work harder. So from that choice, it is better to be creative with another group about which assessment to do. And then the grading scenario here is an assessment where the existing context, considering the behavior of the student in the condition and the student's work to determine the appropriate value about when viewed from the student's condition, what steps should be taken by the teacher when faced in such a situation. Okay, the situation I have mentioned before. Let's get to the next one. So here, the impact of large-scale testing, the test preparation. Large-scale testing has been used more and more in educational system across the countries for high-stakes purposes of accountability, gatekeeping, and policy making. The snapshot nature of a testing as indicators of students' academic achievement and also the relationship between high-stakes decision-making and students' test performance. Large-scale testing has affected what and how teachers teach, and especially what and how students learn. By a snapshot, we mean learning represented as a test score derived from a single testing event.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon everyone. My name is Nahal Hadid. My student's number is 202122158, and in these occasions I would like to explain about 3 key terms in preparing students to take a test. In these occasions, there are 3 points that I would like to explain. The first one is coaching. Coaching is an extracurricular activities that students participate in outside of school. It is targeted to improve students' test performance on a particular exam and doesn't necessarily have the aim to improve their academic skills. Coaching is often used and studied in the educational measurement field, which examine whether and to what extent coaching might influence students' test scores. The second point is teaching to the test. It implies that teacher's instruction focuses narrowly on actual tests and items, with an aim to improve students' test scores or simply item teaching. However, a broad definition may mean that teachers build their instruction around the learning outcomes. The third point is test preparation. Test preparation is defined as a variety of activities which review and develop capacities or content sampled by test and practice test taking skills in an attempt to improve students' test scores. This test preparation can be applied to contexts both inside and outside school activities It is one often used in research. It is more neutral and inclusive.
Alright, I will explain about test preparation examined. Since the 1950s, a number of educational researchers have investigated the effects of commercial test preparation courses or coaching on test scores. Test preparation has been studied in a range of three specific areas. First, teaching to the test and measurement-driven instruction in the field of curriculum, because such practice may narrow curricula. Second, test impact and consequential validity in the field of educational measurement because of its effects on test scores and test score uses. Third was back in the field of language testing because of its influence on language teaching and learning. Test wiseness or TW is defined as the ability to respond advantageously to items containing clues and therefore to obtain credit without the ability, skill, proficiency, or knowledge of the subject matter being tested. Since the 1950s, a large number of educational measurement studies have examined high school students' test score gains resulting from coaching programs. These studies have shown conflicting results. First, significantly better performance of students taking test preparation, and second, no significant advantage for students taking test preparation. Therefore, whether test preparation can significantly influence test scores is still under debate and needs further empirical exploration. That's all from me. I'll give back to another presenter. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Syarifatul Awaliyah. My student's number is 2021222133. Here I will explain about test preparation pedagogical implication. Since the 1980s, educational researchers have proposed principle to examine test preparation appropriateness from two perspectives. First is theory-based and the second is practice-based. The principle of a theory base, first, is a continuum from ethical to unethical behavior. Means that applying an evaluate continuum to test preparation activities ranging from ethical to unethical behaviors. Second, professional ethic. Professional ethic is creating set of specific standards for evaluating the appropriateness of these activities in terms of professional ethic. The third is validity, requires that test preparation improves the validity of test score interpretation. The fourth is academic ethic, requires test preparation activities to be consistent with ethical standards of the educational profession. Fifth, fairness, means all the test takers should have equal access to preparation opportunities. Sixth, educational value, means test preparation should improve both test taker scores and their content knowledge. And the last, transferability, requires to test preparation to teach test taker skill that can be used in different exam situations. One concern of this theory-based principle is practically. Classroom teachers have complained that this standard One concern of this theory-based principle is practically. Classroom teachers have complained that these standards are too general to follow in judging their own preparation activities. Therefore, practice-based principles of evaluating test preparation have been proposed to help teachers focus their preparation on curriculum instruction or learning outcomes rather than test items. The principle of practice-based, according to Turner, 2009, identify 5 types of test preparation practice that can support learning and language development. First, including curriculum objectives, integrating test content into curriculum. Second, familiarizing students with various assessment approaches. Third, instructing and reviewing test-taking strategies. Fourth, motivating students to do their best in tests. And the last is managing time and frequency of test preparation throughout the year. Turner also suggests practical teaching activities for each. For example, first, teacher could create opportunities for students to present their understanding of the content knowledge in different forms and contexts such as independent work oral presentation, and written essay. Second, teacher might review previous year's test papers to analyze task requirement and help students to become familiar with the knowledge they are required to know and understand, including task formats. And third, teacher can align their test preparation practice with both theory-based and practice-based principle in judging the appropriateness of their own test preparation activities. And the last, teacher can use empirical evidence as legitimate resources for performing appropriate test preparation activities. I think that's enough from me. Thank you.
Alright, the next material is about putting students' experiences at the center of teaching. It is inevitable that consideration of our students' experiences with response to testing and assessment practice should be at the center of our teaching and research. We need to ensure the quality of classroom assessment practices and need to use these practices in ways that support our students' learning. If this statement still stands, we can't ignore the role that students play in assessment. We have argued that assessment should be integrated in our assessment practices and emphasized its role in supporting learning. Research in language assessment in particular has primarily addressed test-taking experiences from the perspective of testing strategies, test-takers' behaviors, and perceptions during test-taking processes. It also includes prior knowledges and preparation, test-taking anxiety, and motivation for taking the test. Thank you.
Alright, that's all from us. Sorry if we make mistakes during the presentation. If you have a question for group 6, you can ask us in Google Classroom.